Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. We're just about to start. There's a few people still joining at the moment. We'll just let them connect through and then we'll start. So this is today's iplicit webinar, all about project accounting. So we'll start shortly.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to the iplicit Project Accounting webinar. Thanks for joining today. As Guy just said, I think we've got the vast majority of people that have signed up for the webinar in attendance, which is great. So we'll just dive straight in, I would say. So the session today is going to be led by myself, of course, and also Guy Burton, who's a senior solutions consultant here at iplicit. Guy will lead the product side of the webinar, so we'll be diving into that pretty quickly. But I am going to spend a few minutes just setting the table a little bit, talking about iplicit, and then going through some tangible examples of how the project module works and how that could potentially work for your organization and your specific industry. So we'll dive into some of that as well. But of course, the big focus overall is project accounting. So yes, with that being said, we'll dive straight in. So next slide, please, Guy. So in terms of what makes iplicit different, what I would say is there's nothing quite like iplicit in the marketplace. So the way I would frame it is we're a best-in-class mid-market solution. Now, what this slide does a great job of showing is our position in the marketplace. So when you think of solutions like QuickBooks or Xero, and then something like a NetSuite, we're in that mid-market space. But we would say we lean towards the larger ERP side in terms of functionality. What this slide doesn't cover is the legacy solution element of things. So we move a lot of customers from legacy solutions, so maybe 10 years plus in the market, that are quite limited in terms of, say, dimensional reporting or a project module, and just doesn't allow you to get granular level of detail out of the system. Today, we'll talk a lot about inputs in terms of setting up projects and how you capture information, because of course, the key is the output, so how you can then report on that after going through all of those elements. The other thing to flag up from this slide is the 16-day average implementation time. So we can get you live very, very quickly. That's based on a number of factors, a really fantastic implementation methodology, but also the way the product in the platform has been designed, very configurable. There's also a fantastic structure in there to allow for some customization, but to get you up and running in a new system very quickly. Next slide, please, Guy. So in terms of iplicit's experience and where we are in the market, so we've been around roughly 6 years, but there's a vast amount of experience within the organization. So we're board level, and also the development team come from an exchequer background. So you're looking at 3 decades plus of experience and expertise. The way I like to say it is everyone at iplicit are accounting software people as such in terms of career and the amount of time spent in industry. But yes, what we're looking to achieve or are achieving as a company, as a solution, to create a simple ERP, the commercial side of things, so the business ethos. It is a 12-month initial license agreement, and then thereafter it's a rolling monthly contract. The reason we do that, and the first thing people say to me is, no one wants a finance system for 12 months, you want it for maybe a decade plus. But yes, the reason we do that is to ensure we're serving you like a new customer throughout the entire time of the relationship. We're not getting you
I think we've lost Luke there for a minute. So I'll take over where Luke got up to. So some of the advantages of iplicit for mid-sized organisations. One of the things that we decided when we started designing and building iplicit was to have a system with an unlimited level of general ledger analysis. And lots of our customers, either currently or they're planning in the future to have more than one legal entity, more than one company. So we designed iplicit with a multi-company environment in mind. So you've got one system with all of the entities within the organisation. Integration and API. So we're a cloud-based system, so integration is really important, and we've got an extensive set of APIs. So if you do need iplicit to link to other business operating systems, whether it's your CRM, whether it's your donor management system, whether it's other project-based systems, timesheet systems, resource management systems, that's all achievable either through file integration tools that we have or through our APIs. And automation everywhere. So automation is something we're really passionate about with our finance system. We want to speed up month-end tasks. We want to speed up the day-to-day processing of information for organizations. And we're building automation all the time throughout iplicit. So we want people to be able to spend less time doing more of those manual tasks and get the system to start taking up those. We'll talk about some of those as well. Flexible workflow and approval. So we want to get stuff into the finance system nice and easily, but we also need to make sure that that's consistent. We've also gone through the right authority checks. Also from an audit point of view, from a checking and crossing T's and dotting I's point of view, our flexible workflows and approvals go through anything from procurement to timesheets to expenses to new projects, for example, that type of thing. All configurable and fixable by yourselves within the system. And then also, for those of you who have overseas operations, or for those of you who deal with overseas entities, we have multi-currency capabilities throughout the system as well. That's just some of the advantages of using iplicit. About our iplicit community, as Luke said, we're a relatively new finance system to the world, but we have currently over 10,000 daily users of iplicit. We're used by organisations in over 52 countries, and we have over 900 organisations using iplicit, and we have a 97% retention rate, which we're really proud of. And fortunately, the small majority of customers who are no longer with us, they got acquired by other larger organisations. So we're really proud of that. It's also really important to us. Customer service is incredibly important across our entire organisation. What have we achieved so far? So since our launch in January of 2019, we've already won Accounting Excellence Awards and Accounting Web Awards for the best ERP system. We were a finalist in last year's Accounting Excellence Awards, and we've got a 5-star out of 5 Capterra rating, which is really important to us because that's given to us by our customers. Customer service, as I mentioned, is really, really important to us. So we want to make sure that we're continually evolving the software, continually meeting up with the demands of our customers, and that's part of the mantra across our entire organisation. And we're also accredited by the FCA. So why is project accounting, or what sort of challenges do we talk to about customers regarding project accounting? It can cover a lot of different industries. So it can cover anything from non-profit organisations, recruitment organisations, professional services, performing arts. So if you're running a theatre, for example, which we have quite a few customers doing, each performance, I want to see how we're doing on that. Each particular play that we're doing, each particular event that we're running. I want to see how that event is doing. And by having inbuilt project accounting, it means that we can cover off, rather than finance teams having to analyze information out, and rather than project management teams across the organization getting information that's too late, not timely enough, I can't make the right decisions. We want projects to run collaboratively, because we need to work across the organisation, and we also want projects to run on time, onto budgets and forecasts, and to do that without having to incumbent the finance team in terms of we need extra work, we've got to download stuff into spreadsheets, that type of thing. So professional services, I might do time-based billing, I might do need to monitor the work that we're doing for customers and clients, so we need to bill that time out. I might be a non-profit organisation. Non-profit organisations heavily use project costing across iplicit, because for different events, different grants, different things that we're doing, and I'll take you through this as we go through, the different areas that they need to get into to manage across the life of that project. And life of projects could be relatively short spaces of time, they could be over 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So to be able to do that without having to resort to reanalyzing information is at the heart and soul of what we've done with project accounting iplicit. I may work for on a recruitment basis, so we may have consultants working around the country on our behalf at customers and client sites. Again, with our inbuilt timesheet systems, we can take that information, we can get client approval of information. So it's those sorts of challenges across those industries that we can manage. Are you back now, Luke?
I am, yes. I was about to jump in there, Guy. Apologies for that. My net hasn't dropped, I don't think, this calendar year, and then it does on a big webinar, so apologies. Where did I get to, Guy? Did you just
We've just got up to
activate?
project accounting, so I'll move on to project structures and I'll leave you to it.
Very good, yeah. I think you've covered the vast majority. There was some great examples just in terms of the industry, and probably very similar to what I would have talked about. Guy outlined some of the work we've been doing in the performing arts industry, specifically with theatres as well. What this slide really demonstrates is what Guy is going to show today in terms of the actual day-to-day of setting up a project and the value that you will get out of that. But I think this is quite a nice visual of how everything feeds into an overall project. So you can see it isn't just a contract or an invoice, it's all the way through to the debits and credits and the ledger postings, but then also timesheets, expenses, all of those can feed into specific projects. It is worth saying, though, you don't necessarily need to use expenses and or timesheets. You can use both. You could use one of them, or you could use none at all. And it could be mainly contracts, invoices, and then any of the associated transactions that are tagged to that project. So, of course, to maximize it, using the expenses module and the timesheets, fantastic. But a lot of our customers just use the project module without that, because their organization doesn't have many, if any, expenses, certainly related to a project. And obviously, lots of people don't necessarily use timesheets. It just depends, how that works for your business. Guy will demonstrate that today, but even just the project module in itself gives you a great way of being able to slice and dice information and getting a very clear view of where you are. That's feeded in from the milestones, which are entirely customizable, so you can check in on exactly where you are in terms of the status of the project. And I think that's about it, Guy, in terms of the high-level overview. I think at this point we should dive straight into the product and actually show how this works in iplicit, if that's okay. So yes, project overview. I'll dive straight into that. And then, so timesheets and expenses, kind of touched on the fact that we can use that, but you don't necessarily need to. Disbursements, of course, key. And then all of those inputs, let's look at the output, which is the project analysis.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to start and stop with project analysis, actually. So let's go and take a look. So this is iplicit. As Luke mentioned, we're a cloud-based system. So one of the big advantages for organizations running projects and a cloud-based system is it means that I can access it from anywhere, inside or outside of the office. And it also means, from a collaborative point of view, different team members across your organization can get access to the same information, rather than project managers having to keep their own database and spreadsheets of information about their particular project. I've got different team members working on something, and it means that I can access it anywhere. I can also access it on any device, because to access iplicit, all I need is a web browser. So whether I'm on an iPad, on the train or whether I'm on my mobile phone. We have specific devices. I'll show you these later on for iOS and Android devices, all of which means that our entire organization can sing from one source of the truth, sing from the same hymn sheet, and I can then get real-time analysis. Really important, especially as far as projects are concerned. The amount of people that we speak to have a need for project accounting, and they do it either manually at the moment, or the project team get their project reports up to 10, 14 days after the month end. So it's all really, when as far as a project management point of view is concerned, it's like, you know, organising deck chairs on the Titanic type of thing. So we're really passionate about being able to give people real-time analysis of information. So analysis is at the heart of iplicit across whether you use projects or not. What I mean by that is, as well as being able to deliver like pretty dashboards and charts that we'll take a look at, I can also analyze things. I use analysis levels because iplicit has unlimited analysis across the general ledger. So that means whether or not I'm posting a purchase order, I can allocate that purchase order to the right project. That purchase order might go through an approval process. That purchase order might go through an approval process, and that purchase order might need approving by multiple project managers. So because I've got different things for different projects on that PO. So we do line level analysis as part of the inbuilt approval and authorization workflows that we've got inbuilt within iplicit. Users will get, project managers will get notifications in-app, so within iplicit themselves, but we also send out email communications and notifications out to their mobile devices. I might be entering sales transactions onto it. So those sales transactions also need to be accounted for per projects. But instead of maybe doing things at a line level, this entire sales invoice in this case is going against and being tracked and monitored and analysed in real time at source without me having to redo anything, rekey anything as part of just entering that particular transaction. We might be putting journals in and allocating costs against projects. Allocations can be done in system, allocations can be done on spreadsheets and imported into the system. So lots of varieties in terms of how we want to get that information, get that analysis, get that income and that cost analysed against the various projects that I'm running. And not just the analysis that I need for projects is also probably important to mention, because we might have additional analysis levels. We might have that multiple company situation. We might have different different users in different legal entities working and operating and expensing and creating income transactions for that same particular project. So because iplicit's been designed as a single environment, all my companies, all my projects can be used in one finance system. And it also then means I've got that analysis. I've got real-time consolidations. I've got project information that I can get to a flick of a button that we'll take a look at. As Luke mentioned, we might be putting expenses in. I might be putting expenses in through the browser. I might be using the mobile app. I might be taking pictures of train tickets and petrol receipts and stuff like that on my mobile phone, all being synchronized seamlessly with the finance system. So the finance team has oversight of all of this. We can do things like automate month-end accruals for projects, maybe based on expenses that haven't yet been authorised. So at least I can get an oversight. The finance team aren't blind in terms of collating any of this information anymore, because it's all sat in the finance system. It's all analysed out by the projects, by the expense codes, at the different analysis levels that I need, without me having to do any further exporting of data or pivoting of that data in a spreadsheet. Although we don't have any problem with spreadsheets. I'll come on to that in a minute. We might have contracts for projects. So we might have time-based projects. We might need to work with deferred revenue or revenue recognition, deferred income against those particular projects. So we can take into account all of that sort of information within iplicit, and those attributes, those different dimensional analysis, as well as being able to store the project-based information in there. We might need to control additional analysis levels, and we might have projects that need different analysis levels because of the funding that we're getting for that particular project, because of the way that we need to internally manage that particular project. By having an unlimited amount of dimensional analysis, it means that from a granular level, I can analyze those projects out in different ways, shapes and forms just by trapping that project income expenditure or time and expenses automatically within the finance system. hopefully that's got across how important we think analysis is. And also how important we think projects are. Projects to us are the ability to, this is our project ledger. Project ledgers aren't separate to our general ledger. Project ledgers, as soon as transactions are entered, they're automatically against the right GL accounts, they're automatically against the right projects, automatically against the right activities we've got against those projects. They will all be your activities because it's your system at the end of the day. And those projects might be analysed in whichever way you want. We can have a hierarchy within our project trees. I could go down to different shows, different events, for example. I could even go down to different performances for a particular show. We might be running a set of shows across the country. I want to see how this production operates in Bristol as opposed to Bath, that type of thing. So all of that analysis can be captured at source and shown within iplicit. Additional information we can store on a particular project. Let's go and take a look. We can store documents. So we've got inbuilt document management within the system. I can drag and drop emails into it. So that makes it, firstly, those documents are stored against the project in the cloud. And it also means from that collaboration point of view, anyone else who's got access to that particular project can also share those documents as well. Got one, again, part of that single source of the truth aspect. All of those document management folders are all user definable. You can make them mandatory. I can decide what users get access to those particular areas. And then we've got the projects itself. So the project itself, I might have parent-child relationships with it. Do we want to do timesheets? Do we want to do disbursements? Again, part of the automation within iplicit allows me to take a dispersed expense or a dispersed invoice even, and automatically allocate that to the right project and trap that when I'm creating those sales invoices for onward transmission. I might have different milestones for a project. Again, all of these milestones are user definable, so we can report on these specifically for this particular project. I can also use that as a comparison then to gauge against other projects. So again, one of the great things about having everything in the same place and that single source of truth means that if we want to start comparing projects between each other, we can also do that. We've then got resources for projects. So who is it that's operating on these particular resources? Resources might be individuals, they might be assets that you've got within the organization. So I can allocate those to projects. I can see the work that those resources are doing. And because at source, every requisition, every purchase order, every sales contract, every grant or award, if we're capturing that information in iplicit, allocating against the project at that point in time, then means that iplicit and that project understands all of those financial or potential financial transactions that are relating to that project. That means my project team and myself as a finance user get real-time access of our purchase orders maybe for those projects or requisitions, sales orders. Our project managers get live profit and loss accounts against those projects. We get to see commitments against those projects, and I can put and word information in non-financial ways. So I can just tell people your commitments are just everything that you've ordered, we haven't yet invoiced. And I can see the difference between the two. What I can also do is those project managers can drill down into that information as well. So if I want to see details about that particular invoice, if I can click on it, there it is. I can drill down, look at the transaction, see who approved it, how that came through the workflow. Is it related to anything else in the system? There was a goods received note. I want to go into that. I want to see the purchase order that originated from. See all of those details. I've got that information from anywhere in the world at a few clicks of a button. I've just got to go back and find my project. There it is. Other things I can do on that project, I can analyze that project income expenditure account in any way that I want. You might have different stakeholders for projects who have different reporting requirements. So iplicit's analysis trees allow us, or dynamic accounting packs as we're calling them now, allows us to differentiate how we want to report on that information for different end users, different stakeholders, without the finance team having to resort to spending hours reformatting every month to a particular fund holder's requirements or a particular stakeholder's requirements. We can have all of that inbuilt within the system. We might want to work in that legal entity, multi-legal entity environment. So one of my options in here, these are all my different dimensions in the system. So there could be the activities we're running on a project. If I drag that over, I can now see the different legal entities that we've got. So I've got a consolidated view across that project, across all the legal entities I've got in the organisation. We might be doing timesheets on projects. The ability to capture time, whether or not we're going to charge that time physically to the customer, if I'm a recruitment agency, for example, or a professional services team, we've got that ability. And we don't just want to capture the time they're doing it. So we get a more realistic view, even if we're not on charging that time, of how much time it's spent, and then I can work on our, we've got our timesheet products. So that as people are entering timesheets, and again, in-app or on the mobile devices, we can have different timesheet areas, we can have different pricing models against that, and that includes cost pricing. So even if I'm not physically posting wages and salaries individually to those projects, if I'm capturing time, I can use that as a an average cost price, and then I can see against a project how much time has we spent on that, even if we're not charging that time out. So I can see those units, see those time activities. So we get a far more realistic analysis of the effort that we're taking about that particular project. And again, that allows me to then benchmark against other projects that we're doing, or at least it means that when we're doing that similar type of next project, I can give our project teams a lot more information before we move on. We've got all that good analysis in there, so I'll just show you quickly a timesheet. So as I'm putting in a timesheet, which I've got here, users can enter timesheets. We can capture that information against those particular time aspects. We can decide whether we're going to unbill that time or not. We can also decide if that time needs to be written off. So we've got management of work in progress, for example, all through iplicit. I've got reconciliations of what we've invoiced, what we've written to work in progress, if you need to manage that over time. And the ability for iplicit to allow your project managers to review that again through the authorization workflows that come through from iplicit. So again, they'll get authorization alerts as far as that's concerned. The other thing I can do, talking of timesheets, I can do timesheet billing as well. I want iplicit to go and generate all the timesheets I need for a particular point in time. Part of our automation tasks, iplicit will just go and generate those invoices for me. As it's generating those invoices and it's going into the system, we can also, talking about those disbursements, as far as generating that invoice is concerned, iplicit can also automatically allocate, or I can choose to allocate all of the dispersed costs, dispersed expenses against those projects. So we're not missing out on anything. We're not spending money that's not going to be on charge back onto our clients, all without anyone having to rekey information. We've then got the ability, I'll quickly show you this. Hopefully that's coming through. This is the app on the phone. So those project managers get to see those same set of dashboards that you saw when we first logged into the system. So I can get, wherever I am, my project dashboards and get real-time access to that information. See that, if I clicked on the right project dashboard, see the information. I can drill into that information, get the analysis that I want to, in this case, not a click of a mouse, the touch of my fingers. I can carry on with those authorizations. I might be an employee completing my expenses or completing my timesheet. So all of that, again, the ability and the convenience we've found, especially being a cloud-based and mobile and device-based app, gives those end users, whether I'm filling in a timesheet or whether I'm doing my expenses, I get that real-time access, so I don't need to be sat at my desk in the office to be able to manage those things. That all makes things a lot easier for people. And as far as analysis is concerned, we've got obviously those real-time analysis levels from our projects. We can take that project information, look at projects and look at profit and loss accounts and do that granular analysis, do that comparison against projects against different levels. I've also got the ability to budget against those projects as well. So we might want to do budgeting and forecasting against projects. So those budgets and forecasts can be entered into iplicit. We can revise those budgets and forecasts. They can go through authorization processes. My project managers can get real-time access of their actuals versus those budgets and forecasts, not having to wait for 2 weeks after month end to get to those details. I can do that drill down of information into the live data. I can export that data into Excel, and I can report on that in lots of different ways. So I could report on my projects across different areas, and because iplicit, because we can allocate project teams to projects, those resources to projects, it also means that me as a project manager can get to see where I am individually against projects. I can see where I am collectively against projects, all within a few clicks of a button or presented to me through iplicit's on-screen dashboards and inquiries. We also have, just for completeness, the ability to take that information. We can download any of that project-based information to Excel, but we also have some live links into Excel as well. So just bear with me. So we have an iplicit add-in to Excel. So from Excel, I can sign in to iplicit, and this means rather than extracting the data or downloading the data from the finance system into a spreadsheet that lots of people still like, and we have nothing against Excel, what we do have is what we are against is the ability for someone to have to re-update that information all the time. So with the add-in, I can then go and call any of that project-related data out of iplicit, and then that means my project teams can still work with the spreadsheet, the formatting tools of their particular choice, but I can take that information and that can be updated live into the system rather than having to export data and do the same thing each particular time. The ability to have live reconciliations, live transactional information even, out onto spreadsheets, we're finding it gives our customers that bit of flexibility, so not everything is trapped in the finance system. And because Excel is now calling that data, every time I open this spreadsheet, click refresh, all the data in the spreadsheet has been updated instantaneously. And then finally, integration, because we're a cloud-based system, is really important to us. Integration means we can take information from other systems, we can pass information through to other systems. So iplicit to integrate with your project or resource management tool of your choice, or your home system, or your front of house system. All of that information can come through iplicit's APIs. And that also extends to being able to work with other systems and push data from iplicit into other areas, so such as Microsoft's Power BI or a business intelligence tool, for example, where we might be wanting to collaborate information from the finance system and from those other different data sources as well. So again, iplicit can provide that information live out to those different teams. But it's now 11:31, so that's where I'm going to finish right now. If you've got any questions, feel free to put them into chat, and we'll go and answer them as best as we can. Hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into how iplicit manages projects.
Yeah, we've already got a few questions, Guy. I'll start going through them for you.
Cool.
So, firstly, does iplicit have line level approval?
Does it have? Yeah, yes, we do. So there is, as part of the authorization workflows, I can set it so rather than improve on the header, it looks at the line. So if I've got some expenses and I'm working for 3 different project managers, for example, as I allocate each one of those expense lines or multiple expense lines, iplicit can look at who the project manager is, for example, and then route each particular line. So it will send 3 authorization requests out if it was a 3 line for 3 different projects. Or the simple answer would have been just yes. So
yes. Great. Next question. Can I give a trustee access to see a project?
Can you? Yeah. You can give access to iplicit to whoever you would like to authenticate to. So yes, we have single sign-on authentication tools, and you can give access to. So again, I could give trustees access. I could give different stakeholders access to iplicit. We can send them links out to just specific dashboards if you wanted to, rather than giving them full-blown access to the system. Or they could do their own inquiries. And again, our security is in there, so I only get them to see what bits of the information I wanted to see. But yeah, stakeholders, trustees, should you wish, or you might want to keep that quiet and keep it to yourself. So,
very good. Someone has asked if we can share the recording, so it's worth saying anyone who registers for the webinar always gets a link to the recording. Even if you can't attend, it's always worth registering because you'll automatically get a link to the recording once we've kind of wrapped up today. So that's good to know.
It's also
Quite a
worth
few more
mentioning, there's
questions.
also, sorry, Luke, there's, if you look in the handout in the GoToWebinar panel, there's a series of handout documents in there you can download as well. And like Luke said, yeah, there's an issue with the recording, you can get in real time.
Very good. Yeah, a few more questions to cover off. Yeah, does iplicit include fund management at project level? They're saying the organisation's a charity.
Yeah, so again, because we've got unlimited analysis levels in iplicit, where we use especially for our not-for-profit customers, we'll use funds, and we also have fund types in there as well. So again, just part of that analysis of tracking that information, I'll nominate which fund that money maybe is coming out of or going into, and that can also be analysed by the fund and then by the project as well, or projects even. And it also means that if I've got a project that's maybe we've allocated income from multiple funds to it as well, I'll be able to see all that analysis as well, and along with the ability to do your SOFR and sort reporting as well, and ring fence those funds to make sure they only get spent on the right bits.
Very good. Could a third party submit timesheets, for example, a contractor?
Yes, yeah. So we have some web-based tools, or we all web-based, obviously. We have some timesheet entry portals as well. So there's a timesheet portal that non-employees, subcontractors can enter timesheets in. Those timesheets can come into iplicit for approval. We can also, especially it's used in the recruitment industry. If I've got staff that are going out on site, or even subcontractors are going out on site, they can submit a timesheet, and this timesheet can go back to your client for their approval, as well as coming back into your team for further approval as well. So that means we'll send an email to your client. They can say, yeah, they've turned up and all that sort of stuff, check their timesheet, their bit of the timesheet, and approve that as well. So yes, we can do that.
Thank you, Guy. Excuse me. Quite a few more questions. I'll try and cherry pick the project accounting ones initially, but we'll cover them all, just if anyone wants to drop off when we finish the subject at hand, but we'll cover every question. So can I link to my resource management system?
Yeah. So we've got file integration. So if the resource management system can pass us files, or you need us to send information to your resource management system, or the most common way, especially with a lot of resource management systems these days, are cloud-based like us. So we'll use our APIs together with their APIs, and that way I can get real-time integration between the two systems if I need to. So new staff, all that sort of stuff, projects can be set up in the resource management system and then set up in iplicit automatically, or vice versa. So, and obviously, even transactional information go between the two systems as well.
Brilliant, thank you, Guy. Yeah, so a few non-project questions now. You're going to love this one. It's our consolidation, Guy. So, can entities in your group consolidate that operate solely in a foreign currency? So, if they're an overseas entity, can they access all of the functionality in a foreign currency? And does the foreign exchange rate get converted automatically on consolidation?
Yes, and yes. So yeah, we're a full multi-company system, and each company that you've got set up in the system can have its own base currency, for example, and then all the transactions that were recorded in that base currency. We will auto consolidate your base currency, your incumbent company's transactions into the consolidated base currency of your UK-based company, for example. So if I've got a French company, they'll be operating in euros, we'll be consolidating in GBP because we're a sterling entity, and I can also revalue at any point in time and also say, actually, I want to see my consolidated accounts in yen or US dollars. We have live currency feeds for over 189 currencies around the world, including cryptocurrencies as well. That gets updated as frequently or as infrequently as you want. Usually I'll update that once a day, and then it work out currency foreign exchange gains and losses, foreign exchange gains and losses on particular projects even. So you can have specific dedicated ones to projects or contracts as well. So yes, we're a full multi-currency and multi-company system. If you'd like to look at that, that's one of my favorite subjects. So.
I knew you would like that one. Next question. Can iplicit link with bank feeds? I think you're going to like this one as well.
Yeah, we have over 180, I think, bank. No, it's more than that now, because we do most UK banks, I think nearly all open banking standards we link over using open banking. So any UK banking compliant bank and bank accounts we'll link with, but we also have a load of European banks now as part of the feed, and some US banks as well. Apart from SVB, we don't have them anymore.
Very good. So there's a couple more in here. Yes, so someone has asked about pricing. So what's probably best in regards to the commercials is to just jump on a separate call. The reason I say that is so we can have a look at the number of users and the number of entities that would influence the pricing. But we'd be very transparent about it and tell you straight away. It's going to be different for every set of requirements, is the answer to that one. Someone is asking if there's payroll in the system.
No, we don't do. We're a finance system, so we don't do payroll. So yeah, we're finance only, but we do link to other payroll systems as well, either file imports. I can just upload a payroll journal into iplicit, but I can also use our APIs to link to other payroll systems as well. So you've got lots of payroll to stick in, and that way I can do it by employee level as well, and even allocate them to projects if we're doing it that way. So that's quite a nice way of doing it, or just a file upload. But yeah, we don't do payroll ourselves.
Brilliant, thank you. Yes, that's all of the questions.
Very good.
So, lots of questions today. Thank you for being so engaged. If anyone wants any further information, you can always reach out. We'd be more than happy to jump on a separate conversation and go through further questions. Because I appreciate some of those questions towards the end weren't about project accounting, so I imagine there'll be quite a few more about the wider breadth of functionality, because today was just a snapshot of one area of the system. So we can certainly do a separate demonstration, for example.
And that leaves us, I'm trying to get our finishing slide up. So
very good.
There we are.
Excellent, thank you. Well, yes, thank you everyone for your time today, and thank you for joining us. And as I say, feel free to reach out if we can help at all.
Yeah, and as Luke said, there's handouts in the GoToWebinar panel if you'd like to download those. There's lots more resources on iplicit.com, and a copy of the webinar will be sent out to everybody shortly. Apart from that, thanks very much, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye all.
Thanks, bye-bye.